Well, for more on this, let's bring in Akshaya Kumar, Crisis Advocacy Director at Human Rights Watch in Philadelphia. Thank you very much for your time, first of all, Akshaya. The WHO has described this as the largest internal displacement of people in the world today. Just how dire is the humanitarian situation in Sudan, in your opinion, at the moment?
Well, I think in sheer scale of numbers, the situation in Sudan is really unparalleled around the world. We have millions who've been forced to flee from their homes, who haven't been able to fully get to safety because, to be honest, no place is safe in Sudan right now. There's a massive civilian protection vacuum, which has only exacerbated the humanitarian crisis that the WHO chief Tedros was talking about there.
And another issue here, Akshaya, is of course that the world's attention appears to be elsewhere right now. Isn't that right? What more needs to be done? What more does the world need to be taking action on with Sudan?
Well, we see here that parts of Sudan are facing famine. We have good reason to fear that even more parts of the country may fall into famine shortly. We know that women and girls are being subjected to sexual violence and have a very limited ability to access the medical care they need, in part because the warring parties are obstructing the delivery of humanitarian aid. And as you started with the package, there's also been fighting itself. There's been indiscriminate aerial bombing. There's been fighting that has targeted civilians based on their ethnicity, really horrific violence going on now for 18 months. And in the face of all this, the international community has done precious little, especially the UN Security Council, which has talked about Sudan and has begun to contemplate some recommendations and options for protection, but has not made any decisive moves since this conflict broke out in April. So, to answer your question, what more needs to be done? There needs to be more leverage and more consequences imposed on the parties so that they feel like they need to change their behavior. But there also needs to be a concerted commitment from the international community to step into the breach, to meet humanitarian needs, not just leave it to Sudanese and their community kitchens and emergency response rooms, but really ensure that humanitarians from outside are able to get in, do their jobs, deliver aid and assistance. And if that requires a protection mission to be authorized by the UN, then diplomats in New York should be willing to take that decision.
The UN has, of course, called for a peace force to protect civilians, but that has been rejected by both sides. Akshaya, thank you very much for speaking to us here on TRT World. Akshaya Kumar, from an crisis advocacy director at Human Rights Watch.